There she is, ladies and gentlemen, Tara Dublin, who doesn't need
Hey.
rock.
Hi,
Um,
how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I started out this conversation with sort of a sideline joke that triggered an entire conversation that I thought was completely necessary. Um,
Okay. What was the
which,
sideline joke?
well, that everybody's doing these in memoriam things, and I can't watch the Rob Reiner things. I loved him too much, and
I
I
can't.
don't need to
I
see it.
can't. I
Uh,
cannot. I
yeah.
can't.
So, but I feel like we need to have an in memoriam for all the Republicans that are stepping down or leaving office or have been kicked to the curb in the last year, because that's a big fucking list, and it's getting bigger all the time. Um,
It's not big enough. It's not big
well,
enough for me,
that's up to
but
us. That's up to us and our lazy voter pack. That's like, we deserve to have the greatest systems ever. Well, are you going to show up and vote for them more than one election in a row? Not really. Well,
that'd be
then I
nice.
guess we don't deserve it, asshole. Maybe we haven't
That'd be
earned
super
it
nice.
yet. That'd be a good
I mean,
idea.
sure, sure. We don't have a
Yeah.
defining message. Oh, okay. Well, let's work on one. We don't have
Yeah.
a defining lever. Let's find one super fast, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Like you and I have talked about this before. And by the way, I'd like to apologize for the hoarseness of my voice because I had 3 nights in a row of sold out low bar corral, snow bar corral shows where we were
Aw.
singing at the tops of our lungs for 3 nights in a row, and I'm
I got to
still
teach you a technique.
recovering. Yes. My friend Ruby Friedman, who's an amazing singer, is also a voice teacher. And when I can afford voice lessons, I
Yeah.
will go take voice lessons from
It's
her.
a good idea.
However, so in any case, I am as always frustrated by certain things, particularly, the truth not getting out at the rate it should and in the way that it should. And I forget what prompted me to say that because I went to the sidebar of Low Bar Corral. And then
Yeah.
once I go there, I forget what I was angry about because it makes
Understood.
me happy.
Well,
Um,
I get that.
but
There's a couple
but
things.
here
Yeah. Go ahead.
here it is. You want a defining message. Our defining messages make everything that Trump does stick to Republicans. And the
Mm-hmm.
Republicans who are leaving in droves before the midterms can actually happen are sending a huge message saying we can't win because Trump is going to kill us all. And that's basically the message. It's like they know they can't win, and that's why they're dropping out. You think Marjorie is doing this for altruistic reasons or for the
Right.
good of the country? No. She's getting her pension, and her last act in Congress is hurting trans kids. Great legacy, Marge. Thanks so
Right.
much. Thank you for fucking nothing. Just because she wanted the Epstein files released, that doesn't make her a good person. Just because Thomas Massey is working on the Epstein files release, that doesn't make him a good person either because he's a J6 denier person.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm frustrated by a lot of things, but one of the things Democrats absolutely need to do starting ASAP is going back to what I've been saying all year. If we're doing in memoriam for all of my fantastic ideas that have yet to be implemented, like a daily Democratic press briefing led by a dedicated Democratic press secretary. We should have had that from the start. Because we had to know from the beginning there would be daily lies that needed
Mm-hmm.
to be combated. And my biggest fear, which I've also said repeatedly on this show, even before he was falsely inaugurated, was their ability to control the flow of information and
Mm-hmm.
choke it and bend it so that it makes them look good and us look bad. And Barry Weiss is proving that for them by killing the stories on 60 Minutes that matter. And we can delve into that in a minute. But for me, it's being able to find a way to get our message out to the masses in a way that can't be choked off by the right-wing media. So what happened over the last decade, the media allowed the slow boil of Trump to take over. And when you and Cliff were talking earlier about all of that stuff, um, it's the attacking of the messengers is what happened, rather than making Trump stay on message, rather than holding Republicans
Mm-hmm.
accountable for what Trump was doing. They all became a party and a cult of bullies. And all they cared about was owning the libs, even to their own detriment. And that is where we are right now with this Epstein files mishigas, which is, well, we gave you the Epstein files and it's all Bill Clinton. Why aren't you doing anything?
Hmm.
It's not all Bill Clinton. It's all blacked out shit protecting Trump.
Right.
And you know it, and we know it. So fucking say that over and over.
Well,
Say,
I will
and you know,
say, in what I've seen in the follow up that seems to be the case even amongst right wingers. Right wingers are like, Bill Clinton hasn't been president for over 25 years now,
right.
and so yes, awful, but whatever. In that regard, and I think the rest of us are like, if he was engaged in any of that shit, he can go pound sand. I don't care. I have no
Yes.
issue about it. But Trump deserves the same level of scrutiny. Well, the issue is on the right. That's exactly where they are right now. In so many areas, they're trying to run from this. They're trying to hide from this. But there's been a chain of events that has dislodged MAGA from Trump in a way that I don't think he's really aware of yet. And it started really with their kind of hesitancy about the binders. When the binders were handed out by Pam Bondi, that was a shot across the bow that you're about to be like it's going to be an artillery barrage of bullshit from this point forward. And then when
Of
that
course.
memo came out, since the memo, that's when Trump's numbers, if you track his poll numbers, that's when it's gone down. He's had a couple of bumps up and down when they like who he's bombing or like who he's running out of the country. But for the most
Right.
part, it's been cratering, not because there's been some magic like, Barry Weiss has been able to stem the bleeding on this story or something like that. It or because the left has decided we don't like him after all. It's not that at all. It's been maggots by and large are heading for the hills. They're rats leaving a sinking ship, and there's some dieharders that get interviewed, and there's this idea that there's this segment of them that will hold on forever. But the reality is, those are the people who believe that they think open borders are the biggest thing they have to fear, or that phrase scares them enough to excuse everything else. Well, the problem is there is no way a Democrat, for example, is going to go back to some sort of version of open borders at this point. Like, politically, it's untended. Like 80% of the public is like, yes, we need a managed border. Stop listening to your fringe, right or left. We don't need everybody coming into the country, from a point of view of a bunch of like hyper lefties who think we should allow everyone in because this country is horribly racist. And like, why would you let a bunch of people into a country you think is racist if you're trying, like, what are you trying to torture them? And on the far right, it's like, we need cheap workers, let them slide in, and Trump's ag buddies will give them the benefit of the doubt, or it'll be the honor system from the farmers, and they can just work under the table and we'll just pretend it's not happening. Those fringes own the conversation for the last 15, 20 years. That's over now. And by and large, most voters know this. And it won't be hard for a Democrat to make a balanced argument going forward. And I think Newsom, as a border state governor, will be able to do that. I think Mark Kelly will also be able to make a good argument about it. And so that'll set the tone for how everybody else talks about it. The issue that we have, and this is kind of what I brought up with Cliff, was we were more offended by Bill Burr than Bill Barr. We were more affected by Joe Rogan than Matt Gaetz. We were more offended by what Trump said than what he signed. And that's got to be the difference, because social movements are our business. Political movements are a national business. We need votes. I don't give a rat fuck how on board you are with the best version of a plan. If it's the only thing that's we can vote on that will actually happen, there is no reason for not being on board with it at all. Red district purple, purple district blue. Purple. That's
I've been repeating that all year. I've been repeating that from you and giving you the credit, but obviously that is a huge part of it. But also a huge part of it is making all of the Epstein shit stick to every single Republican running in 2026.
Absolutely.
Every Republican is Trump. Bottom line. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you have spoken out against him. I don't care if you have you've offered something that maybe resembles something that liberals care about. If you are still loyal to Trump, if you are still fine with him being the leader of your party, I'm going to make everything he's ever done stick to you. In 2026. There it is. There's our defining message. Trump is the anchor dragging you all down. And I was listening to, the whole Erica Kirk and JD Vance are totally fucking. They are totally fucking. I don't want to imagine it. I don't want to think about it, but it's so
Right.
fucking obvious because she's like there's this new thing that, he's standing up on at TPUSA saying you no longer have to apologize for being white. That is a new trend that has been happening, by the way,
Mhm.
on the Bird app. Is your For You feeds are being flooded with these, a lot of them look like AI, big boobs. Like they all look like their names are Boobs McMaga, and they're all blonde, wearing the red hat with their boobs up, going, "I'm proud to be white. I'm not going to apologize for being white." Who's fucking making you? And by the way, who's persecuting Christians?
Okay.
John Fugelsang
Oh,
will tell
hold
you
on.
nobody.
Wait, pause.
That's
Pause. I
it's a
brought this up with
double.
Cliff. No, I brought this up
Yeah,
with Cliff as well. Because, again, on the one hand, we're being dragged onto their battlefield with this bullshit.
right,
And the
right.
Sweeney
That's
thing
where.
was the first swing at this.
Oh,
And everybody took the fucking bait. See, if that ad
I
was running
didn't.
ninth, yes, well, you know what I'm talking about, though. Everybody jumped on her back and went, "Oh, jeans, white people are better, blah blah blah." And if that ad had been run in 1977, which is what it was a throwback ad to 1978.
Mhm.
If that had been run then, nobody would have given it a second thought. It was just a jeans ad, and you're talking about like, a woman who it's the new Kelly LeBrock "Don't Hate Me Because I'm Beautiful" ad. That's what it was.
Or the
And it,
Calvin Klein,
and
nothing
it
comes
yes,
between me and my
me and my
Calvins.
exactly. And what
Same
everybody
thing.
jumped in was that this will be defined on racial terms. And what that does is that allows, ladies and gentlemen, racists to say, "See, we're the racism is equal on both sides. Therefore, we need segregation again. Therefore,
I
whites only
know.
communities." Therefore, I'm telling you, they
I
set it up
know.
and run with it.
I
And
know.
every time we take this fucking bait, look, there is clearly especially on shitter. It's not in real life, but it's on all social medias. There's an active group, both real and Russian, saying, that white people are to blame for everything throughout history, and they're the most evil race in the world. And P.S. That's because Jews are white now, and they right. I'm not kidding. It
No,
is.
I
It's a
know. I
serious
know.
problem, and the
I
problem we
know.
have is not addressing it. It's the fact that we get baited into addressing it. And that's what feeds that argument. That's what feeds that, because they're like, "Oh, I must have touched a nerve." Remember, because like a lot of these folks, it's I'm upsetting people. I must have said something right. Whether it is or
No.
not is immaterial. That's their
Yeah.
argument. And what happens is that causes it to blossom. But if you're like, "Please," and then you move on to the real conversation, because we're so much more worried about what somebody says than what they sign. And we have to focus as political animals when we're talking about voting and political action, things that will change people's lives for real. What gets signed, not what gets said. Because the same thing
Right.
can, the cruelty of Trump's language is written into what he signs, and I would argue worse. But our focus on what he says makes what he signs look tepid by comparison because of the outrage disconnect.
Well, they're the ones that are claiming we're outraged when we're actually not outraged about what they say that we're outraged again about,
Mm-hmm.
because that's part of the distraction tactics, which is what
You
I
mean
was originally
transgender
saying.
for
Like
everyone isn't a thing?
just, like all of their bullshit messaging, every single bit of it. Christians are being persecuted is another defining message at TPUSA this weekend, along with "you don't have to apologize." All of it's a distraction from Epstein. All of it is a distraction from Trump's criming. All
Mm-hmm.
of it is a distraction from what they're doing with Project 2025. It's the ignore what they say, watch what they do, which we always do. We do. You and I do. Your audience does. People who are paying attention in the right way do. They think they're duping Democrats when they're not. And,
Mm-hmm.
for me personally, I'm not mad. I'm not jealous. I'm not triggered. Like, I don't, I don't buy
Mm-hmm.
into it. They can't hurt my feelings. Taylor Swift has provided us with an evergreen response to all of our trolls, because what they do is they attack the messenger rather
Yeah.
than talk about the issue. So guess what, MAGA? It doesn't matter what I look like, and it doesn't matter how old I am, and it doesn't matter how many cats I have, which is just two, and it doesn't matter where I live. None of that is relevant to what Trump has done. It doesn't make Trump
Right.
any less
Right.
of a
Right.
pedophile rapist, right? So when you attack the messenger, that is part of the distraction that I am not falling for, that I encourage other people to not fall for either, which is the best of what we can do while we're telling the truth is giving people the tools to fight back in their own way. Now you can just block it, which is always the right way,
Yep.
block that messaging. If it's a sitting member of Congress pushing that messaging, if it's Scott Jennings sitting on CNN pushing that messaging, that is when you can fight back with truth, because at least it is there, right? So
Right.
that's my approach, always living where the truth does, even because here's the thing about the truth that we have learned. MAGA hates the truth. They hate the truth about Trump, and I think they all know what it is, but you can't be wrong on the internet. That's bad. And you can't admit that you were duped by a con man, also bad. So the thing that has happened over the last decade that the media has abetted, obviously, and now they can control the flow of information, the flow of truth, is that people have just become terrified of being wrong. Being wrong on the internet has become somehow the worst thing. And if you're wrong, it's so wrong. And you just can't admit you were wrong. The truth is the truth, regardless of who likes it. And the truth almost always is something someone's not gonna like. It's gonna be ugly. It's gonna be dirty. It's gonna be messy. It's gonna disappoint you. It's gonna hurt you some way. It's gonna make you question your entire belief system. It's gonna make you think back to where else was I duped? Where else was I tricked? How could have this happened to me? It's a personal affront. And that's this group think of we can't be wrong. We can't, that cult mentality. I can be wrong a million times a day and admit it. I'm not going to get struck by lightning, and neither are you. And so for me, I don't care what the truth is or who it's about. And we've waited for this Bill Clinton bomb to drop. Where is it? We saw a picture of him in a pool. Turns out it wasn't even on Epstein's Island. It was in a hotel somewhere. That's a private
Dubai
something somewhere else. Everything they put out and deleted. The picture of Diana Ross and Michael Jackson that they try to sneak in there. Fuck you. I mean, come on, stop it. Because that is insinuating, well, Michael Jackson was accused of raping little boys.
Well, again, this would be, so that's the point about
right?
Focus
so it
to me.
Has to be
I think
truth.
our primary, I think our primary focus in this particular instance is that I am thoroughly convinced that every blacked out image in the files contained Donald Trump and a child until proven otherwise.
Yes. There was one of him on the plane.
Yep.
He's on the plane with a blackout square, and it's a blonde girl, and I was like, it's Ivanka, it's Ivanka. I saw an unredacted picture, and it's not Ivanka. And even if it was Ivanka, that's really not a great counter argument to make that he's not a pedophile when he went on The View and said he wanted to date his own daughter.
Right.
When he talked about how hot her body was on Howard Stern. When he said that the thing that he had in common the most with his own daughter was sex. Okay? He's fucking disgusting. He also has temporal frontal lobe dementia, which I know you talked about with Dr. Adam a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
He's my favorite follow on Instagram, by the way. Every single day, there's new evidence that Donnie dementia is sundowning hard. And that is the other truth that we need to live in, and stick that to every Republican running in 2026. Really? Really? You're okay with sundowning Paw standing up there talking about, I know what a giraffe looks like. Aren't you proud? You're so
bumpy horse,
proud.
Right? Bumpy horse.
He's a cotton-headed ninny muggins. So
So okay.
Again,
so one of the things let's see if I
Back to
can bring up real quick because I had to make a PDF of this because I was worried that they would take down the actual video or the article itself. Is this guy right here. This is one of the most crucial parts of the entire Epstein stuff as far as I'm concerned so far. And that is, if I may, switch this over, this guy right here.
Right.
Remembering the time Jeffrey Epstein rode on Donald Trump's plane. So in the year 2000, Trump, this is the story. And by the way, the idea that this was the only time is fucking ridiculous. The argument I would make is that Epstein flew on Trump's plane way more than the other way around. that it was far more common for him to hitch a ride on Trump's plane when they hung out than to use his own plane because he was good at manipulating people. And why spend the gas himself if he could just catch a ride with Trump, who went down there all the time? So,
Right. And also their friendship wasn't really a friendship, but more of a competition. So Trump could say, well, my plane's bigger. You know,
right.
like it would be like that. Let's take my plane.
Well, that's okay. So this is, I'm going to shrink this down so we can see it a little bit better as far as text goes.
Is this the one with the little girl and the real estate agent thought it was his niece? Right.
No,
It
was a article it was for Maximum Golf magazine, which just sounds so fucking douchey.
I know.
It's like it's the douchiest title ever. That's almost a funny. That's like it's like you talk about like the MAGA titty women, with a golf club on the cover. Like it's the only golf magazine with a centerfold, basically, is what it sounds like.
Right, and like twin lesbians in a massive photo shoot or something like that. Because
right. So here's the scene was described by reporter Michael Corcoran in a profile of Trump published in Maximum Golf magazine, which is, by the way, expunged. I can't find the copy of it right now. Anyway, I'm sure it exists somewhere, but it's
burned them all.
Right. Wearing his trademark dark blue bespoke suit and white shirt, which again, he buys these fucking tents off the rack. Get the fucking bespoke.
Are you kidding me? Get out of here. It's a Brioni cheap-ass suit.
Trump paces the aisle of his plane, tugging at his tie like an accountant at 11:30 p.m. on April 15th, which again is a crucial date. We should keep track of that, see if that ever shows up in the Epstein files. As far as where Epstein was on a particular date. In the year 2000, April 15th, they were both on a plane together. Never be late for someone else's plane, Trump says, his facial expression showing a mixture of annoyance and bemusement. The offending party is stuck in Friday rush hour traffic. Come on, Jeffrey, where are you? Trump says. He's talking about Jeffrey Epstein, another wealthy and well-known man who is traveling with Ghislaine Maxwell, the daughter of the late media baron Robert Maxwell. The couple finally arrives, Epstein wearing an orange sweatshirt and jeans, and Maxwell sporting sunglasses and fashionably tight pants. Trump brightens, gently chides them, forgiving their tardiness.
Of course he does.
This is the part that stands out. They did board with a young woman of indeterminate age.
I'm calling it 15 or 16.
Yeah.
Maybe as young as 14.
Right. He goes, I wouldn't be able to tell you if she was 15 or 20. She was quite dressed up and quite made up, so it was hard to tell, Corcoran said over the weekend. At the time, I didn't even know who Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were, so when they got on, I thought, maybe they're married, and that's their niece. Also, why would you think they're married and that's not their daughter?
Yeah, because she didn't look like them, or she was too hoary looking. They hoard her up to make her look older.
Yeah, or she looked Eastern European because... Right, that's where they...
Who knows why these people do why was Barbara Corcoran on the plane in the first place? Why was she hanging out with Trump?
Well, this was an article. They were writing this piece for Maximum
I understand. But
Corcoran
right, and Barbara Corcoran's a major real estate broker in Manhattan. So she was obviously maybe working with Trump or knew him socially or... Right, and no one ever really talks about that. And then didn't she end up on Shark Tank? Or is that the same person? I don't know if that's the same. I think it might be. But anyway, it's just this was the Manhattan that they lived in. This was the social where they jumped on planes and went, and people for a while they questioned Epstein, but it was most of the people in that circle just went to parties and they didn't know about the gross part. And and this is probably one of the first times that someone in that circle was like, maybe that's a little odd, but didn't think to pursue it because of the times or the social setting or the pressure.
You can't say their age; they're too young. I think that qualifies. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
If you don't, here's the other thing. If you enter with a young girl of indeterminate age and you don't introduce who she is, that in and of itself is suspect. It's very sus. It's specifically a problem because if you're entering like, oh, this is my niece Jennifer, this is this is my daughter Claire,
Yeah.
this is like this
As
is
you do if you're a
Ghislaine,
proper social
this is
person.
the daughter of a friend of ours in Palm Beach, and she's
Right.
flying back with us. Like, you would explain it. The fact
Yeah.
that they don't explain it is in and of itself a proof that it was fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, we
And
now
then
know,
it
of
goes
course, that his story about like
right.
I wasn't a fan of his, and we weren't friends, and blah blah blah,
Lied.
is all
Lied.
bullshit.
Lied.
And he
Lied.
still visited the club up till 2017 while Trump was president.
He went to
Like
the
during
White House when
right,
Trump was president.
yeah,
Come
and
on.
bragged about it. He texted from there.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the other thing.
Hello.
Okay, so that of the files that are going to come out, this is very specific. Like of the files that are going to come out, one of the things that's going to happen is his phone records, which they clearly have,
Mhm.
and the phone records are going to prove the metadata of those things are going to prove where and when text message were sent from. And he messaged and spoke to, I guess it was Steve Bannon from there. And
Mhm.
then they met up in, because Bannon was going to help him clean up his image ironically, with a 60 Minutes interview, which under Barry Weiss he could do right now. And,
Right.
if he was still alive and get away with all of it, I guess.
Sure. Sure. Absolutely. It's
But he was there for
ridiculous.
New Year's Eve, like at the White House
Mhm.
in 2017.
Yes, and that's probably when maybe after that Epstein was like, "Oh, and by the way,
Mhm.
uh, I'm in a lot of trouble, and I'm gonna have to tell people shit, and uh-oh, now I'm in prison. Uh-oh, now I'm not alive anymore." So it's just like a weird sequence of events. Like, what happened between New Year's Eve 2017 and when he was arrested and eventually
Right.
unalived, as kids say on the internet? It's just, all of it is sus. But again, all rooted in competition. And it was one of those things that Trump was probably taught early on by Roy Cohn in keeping your enemies closer. Right.
Right.
And with David Pecker knew all of that shit about them and had all the stuff in the safe. And now we find out people like David Brooks was in the Epstein
Mhm.
files. David Brooks from the New York Times, who wrote not that long ago, I'm not really concerned about what's in the Epstein files. It's not that big of a deal. But
Right.
really, that's because you're in it. So
Yeah.
the more you learn, and there's a meme that I keep on my phone, and it's a Venn diagram, and it's just one circle, and it's people who don't want the Epstein files released, people who are in the Epstein files. It's just one
Yeah.
circle
Right.
because they're one and the same, and it's you know and now what's happening because the DOJ didn't comply? Shocking. What a weird way for a bunch of innocent, transparent people to behave.
Mhm.
Now Democrats are saying they're going to impeach Pam Bondi, and they're
Right.
going after everybody connected to, well, we can't do that for real until we have a majority. So, and as we touched on a little bit earlier, there's this like sort of MAGA exit coming in the
Mhm.
House between Marjorie and
Right.
a couple of other people, and I think that we're eventually going to see. I think there's every reason to believe that Mike Johnson is going to be replaced as Speaker because he's done such a shitty job, and he's obviously so compromised while living up in Trump's alimentary canal that I don't know that Republicans are going to even have the majority by the midterms in the House
Mhm.
because of all of this fuckery and all of this, that they are going to have to seriously make a choice if they're going to remain with Trump and let him take them down, or they're
Yeah.
going to step aside and say, I can no longer be associated. I tried. I agreed. And what they would probably do is, I agreed with Trump about the border and I agreed with him about this,
Yeah.
but I just can't stand now that I know this. I have to separate myself from this. I was willing to suspend disbelief, but now I've been shown this proof and now I have to walk away. So that's where
Mhm.
Republicans, I think, are going to be, they're going to be cornered in 2026 with this kind of information. And if
Right.
Dr. Adam is to be believed, Trump only has 3 to 5 months before what he calls logging off for good, which I think is clever. But we in no way want to have a situation where JD Vance is assuming his seat. behind the Resolute desk. So there's a place here where
Well, he'll
we
be a lame
have.
duck. He'll be a lame duck with no personality. That part doesn't worry about. That
I mean,
doesn't
he
worry
already
me at
is.
all. Yeah.
There's so much to stick to him though. Like there is a video that I share constantly of JD Vance talking to Theo Vaughn, where
Mm-hmm.
Theo's like, release the list, and they laugh, and then JD Vance goes, seriously, the Epstein list, they need to release the entire list.
Mm-hmm.
That it's not from, and it's from not that long ago.
Yeah.
So like I share that, like, and of course, even on the good socials, I've shared it
Yeah.
on Blue Sky, I've shared it on Insta, I've shared it on my Substack, I've
Mm-hmm.
shared it on YouTube, I've shared it on Facebook, and everyone just kind of shrugs, and I'm like, that matters. Like it matters that JD Vance used to call Trump America's Hitler. It matters about him doing whatever he's doing with
Mm-hmm.
Erica Kirk. It still matters that Charlie Kirk doesn't have a burial place, that we don't have a medical, we don't have a doctor, we don't have an autopsy report.
Right.
All
Right.
of
Right.
these things matter. What matters the most is making it stick to Republicans. Make it all stick to them, and they can't inherit Trump's Teflon. I don't think.
No.
Like he's
Well,
managed, but the
yeah.
rest of them won't
Well,
be able to.
part of it goes into this idea that once you've been sold a bill of goods like that, admitting to it is very hard for your ego. Admitting you were suckered is really hard. And Trump benefits from that psychological defense because there's a lot of
Right.
people find it very difficult to admit just how taken they were by this con man. And again,
Right.
one of the biggest arguments, for Trump, I think Brolin even said something about like he was the greatest salesman he's ever met. I'm like, well, you have to be a great salesman when your product is shit. Like it's important to be a good
exactly.
salesman in business in general, but the only reason you ever have to be a masterful salesman is when your actual product is garbage. And that's
right.
what, and so that should be a lesson learned. If a person is like, check it out, don't listen to me. Here's the car, give it a spin. You let me know if you feel this or whatever. And if you think it costs too much after you've taken it for a drive, then we'll talk or whatever. Like that kind of salesmanship is a skill. But if you have to just barrage somebody with layers of propaganda like bullshit on everything you're selling, then it's obviously a fucking lemon.
Obviously.
Yeah,
And
Karen
by
says
the way,
a snake oil salesman, and I completely agree.
always.
Yeah,
He's like a walking game of 3-card Monty in
right.
that cheap shiny suit that's big enough to hide his Foley catheter, except doesn't hide it at all. He's always been that guy, right? Like I've always known he's that guy, and he's overcompensating for his shortcomings. That's his entire life. It is a cult of self-victimization that starts with him. He's the biggest self-victimizing, whining snowflake ever. And he's given them all the permission to whine and complain. And they want all of us to be as miserable as they are. That's like the heart of who he is. And they've been like, yeah, I'm mad. Oh, yeah, I want you to be miserable too. I'm not miserable.
Right.
I'm not going to
That's
let
the
you make
key.
me miserable. I'm
That
not letting
is the
your
key.
shit you don't infect my joy. You think look at me in my Swiftie shirt. I am loving this month. This month has been all Taylor Swift. I have watched the documentary. There's 2 more episodes left, and then we get those tomorrow. Tomorrow, right? Yeah, tomorrow. And then the whole final Taylor Swift concert that I was at, I can watch it anytime I want. I want to tell you something. There is a lot to be learned from if you don't have to be a Swiftie. I would encourage every single human being to watch the documentary to just learn how to treat other people. She is unfailingly generous. And I don't just mean with her money. I mean with her heart, with her spirit, with her time, with her attention. When she is focused on a person, she makes that person feel like their best friend for if it's 5 seconds, if it's 5 hours. And you watch how she gives time in the documentary. It's not all about her. You spend a lot of time learning about her dancers, her backup singers, the people who work with her, her family. You don't even see Travis until episode 4. And so, but what the biggest takeaway that anybody should get from watching it is you could have all the money in the world, and it doesn't mean you get to be an asshole. The way she treats other human beings.
Yeah.
That is what.
I want to say she gave whatever, I want to say $1 million to like or
She
$750,000 to her dance or whatever.
yes,
Everybody got at least a quarter of
the
$1,000,000,
rumor.
I think, or something like that.
Yes,
No,
that's the
yeah,
rumor. There's a scene in the documentary where they're standing in so what she did was she gave something like $197 million in bonuses to her entire crew.
yeah,
$100,000 to the truck drivers. And
hmm
she wrote handwritten, there's a scene, she wrote handwritten letters to every single member of her crew,
right,
everyone, and
yeah,
sealed the envelopes with wax. That's who
yeah,
Taylor Swift is, handwritten. And it took her a while. She has these bags of envelopes. And there's a circle of the dancers, and Cam, one of the dancers, is reading the letter because it's the same letter to all of the dancers. And when he gets to the amount, his mouth is blurred and they don't let you hear it. And so there are like lip readers trying to figure it out. And it's either 250,000 or it's 750,000.
right,
But what it is, and what she says to them in the final circle of when they're standing before the last concert, how she imagines them as children, how she imagines them in their old age, and what they're going to tell people from this time.
hmm
And what it meant, and the human connection. And I wrote a whole Substack about, and you were talking about comedy earlier. And one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, maybe we can even spend this last 15 minutes we have together talking about it, is how nothing connects us more like the way music does. And
hmm
nothing heals us the way music does. And nothing can change your mood the way music does. And you can find common ground with other human beings that you can't find anywhere else, except when you're talking about music.
hmm
Because Taylor Swift performed for 10 million people on her Eras tour. And she says not 10 million people watching a concert film, which they did, which is great. 10 million human beings
hmm
total stood before them and I was one at the last show.
hmm
And the responsibility for that and making 10 million people feel good.
hmm
I want to have that effect on other human beings. I
Yep.
Low Bar Corral does that. Next week, I'm sitting in on Sirius XM Progress for 2 nights with John Fugels for
Great.
John, because he's okay. One of those nights, I'm having Ben Landsverk, our lead singer of Low Bar Corral. I'm going to have him on, and we're going to talk about the power of music to heal
Right.
us as humans. And that is what Taylor Swift does. It's what every performing artist tries to do, I think. But the way
hmm
she's had her same band like her whole career. She's had these backup singers for a really long time. The way she treats other human beings, her generosity in sharing her stage with her opening acts and her friends, and it's
hmm
a lesson in being a human being is what
hmm
it is. It just is. And
Yeah.
so if you want to say billionaires shouldn't exist, I'm not going to disagree with you. But the way she gives away her money, the way Mackenzie Scott gives away her money, that's the right way to do it. But if you can do it in a way that benefits humanity, makes people feel good, you can't tell me that of the 10 million people that physically were in the room with her, you can't tell me they were
hmm
all liberals. They absolutely were not. You cannot, I will not, I refuse to believe that. I
Right.
know there had to be MAGA people in that crowd. Maybe they left their red hat at home to celebrate the red era in person. But you
hmm
can't tell me that everybody was 100% politically aligned at those shows. That is impossible just statistically. So if you just step back for a moment and reach out into the miasma of the internet and say, here's a song that I love.
hmm
Do you love it too? There's a human connection between you and me. We might not agree on anything. I didn't agree with Charlie Kirk about anything except releasing the Epstein files. I'm
hmm
sure there's a MAGA person out there. Maybe they don't want to admit it publicly, but they love Taylor Swift. They love her. They love her. Whether she
But enough,
may not
enough
be MAGA,
about
but they love
right.
her.
Enough
It's the
about
connection.
JD
It doesn't
Vance.
have to be right.
The
But I
right.
mean, he loves eyeliner. Okay,
Hey,
we
can
could
I?
go to Ulta together.
Yep.
But you're a
Yeah.
musician, and I know in your core, you understand what it's like to
Of
perform for
course.
people, to
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
them happy through music. When I was at your Nerd Halen show,
hmm
even though somebody died a couple of hours before you were on stage, you were
hmm
joy, you were energy, and you transmitted that to every single person in that room. And every person in that room left that room on a high, you know, all of it sparking all of the good feelings in your body and your soul and your spirit.
hmm
We all left feeling better than when we walked in. Like, That's an amazing ability to have as a human being, to be able to do
Agreed.
that
So
for other humans.
let me say for one, January 20th, we have the NAM version of the Ultimate Jam Night on the 20th, and the 31st, I'm doing a show in Chicago, January 31st for Indivisible at Dino's Pizza. Like out near O'Hare or whatever, but to raise money for them or whatever. So stand up and music in one particular month. Just saying.
Awesome.
And I look like this when I'm doing both, which is nice. It's a good
Yeah, you
overlap to
do.
have.
Because you're a
Also,
fucking
in
rock
terms,
star.
yeah, in terms of people like musicians doing good works or whatever, I don't know how many people are familiar with the Metallica All Within My Hands Foundation.
I was not.
That they do they with the national the American Association of Community Colleges. They raise money for trade schools and technical education. They've been doing it for years. They've
That's
invested.
awesome.
They've given $13.5 million worth of scholarships to this. They also fight hunger
Awesome.
with the M72 World Tour. Like they were raising money for local food banks everywhere they went, and then they gave money for disaster relief and all these, and they do it everywhere. Metallica
And
does
they're
this.
quiet about it, right?
Yep,
It's yep.
they
And
just do it
that's the
all the
real shit.
time.
That is the fucking real shit.
Yeah,
Back to Taylor for 1 second. Every city Taylor Swift played in the United States, she donated enough money to local food banks to keep them stocked for 3 years.
right.
No, not a lot of people know that. Dave Grohl has a side business because he's hurting for cash. But he has a side business. He has a barbecue business, and he mostly uses it to feed first responders, to feed the homeless, to feed veterans, and then next month he's on his birthday, but the Foo Fighters are having a concert in LA to raise money for to fight food insecurity. It's all you have to donate food. I mean, you have to buy a ticket, but they also are requiring food donations. So, that's the best thing. That's
Yes.
the best part of if you're going to be famous and super rich and you can use your platform not just to entertain but to further education, to further make people's lives better. I mean, there are plenty of musicians who volunteer with Habitat for Humanity, who donate to
That's
Greenpeace,
right.
who donate to future forests to set off the carbon emissions of their private jets because they can't fly commercial anymore. They're just too famous. So, there's good celebrity and there's bad celebrity, and there's good ways to spend your money and there's bad ways to spend your money. And,
Right.
if I ever had the opportunity, and I talk about this a lot, maybe I don't do it on your show, but I do it. It's like a manifestation. But, when I get my streaming series and I get my Sound of Settling, whatever going, and I get all of that, I'm immediately going to turn around and spend all of that money in the best way possible. And I want to recreate what Taylor Swift did with her crew, with a Sound of Settling crew and cast. I want to do that all the time. I want to, 2 weeks ago was the last time I was with you. And we got off the air, and it wasn't anything that we talked about or anything anyone said or did. But I think I was just like in a low place emotionally. And I was like, I just don't want to talk about all of this awful shit anymore. I just want to talk about stuff I miss being able to have a balanced political system. I miss Republicans were never great and it's never been awesome, but at least there was something that resembled respect in political discourse. At least there was something that resembled dignity in being in public office. At least there was something that was like they seemed to behave, at least publicly, with some manner of respect and decorum.
Right.
I'm tired of all of the juvenile dipshittery dominating the conversation. Like, I want smart people to be in politics. I want grown-ups to be back in office. I want Democrat, Republican. I want you to be able to have a debate with your opponent without threatening them with death. I just like basic shit like that can't be people, and I put out the response to the Rob Reiner murder over the same weekend where 15 Jews were slaughtered at Bondi Beach by a father and son who conspired to kill people at a Hanukkah celebration. all of it, just like all of this is hitting me all at one time, and I get extra Jewish around Hanukkah anyway, because Judaism is my bloodline. It's not my belief system. Like I'm not a religious Jew, but I'm very proud of the heritage. And I will never deny it. We're still, the smallest population of religious people on the planet or whatever. It makes me really angry that people just can't be nicer to each other, a little bit nicer. As guilty as I am of getting angry and whatever, I am in my default, and my mother will tell you this. I don't have a mean bone in my body in that I don't wake up going, who can I fuck with today? Who can I piss
Right.
off today? Who can I make mad today? It's more like the 5-year-old Tara that still lives here and here just wants everybody to be treated fairly. And they're not. And it makes me upset when people just can't get a break or things can't be fair. People just can't. It's the fucking holidays, right? We're supposed to peace on earth, goodwill towards men. And they're like, meh, meh, meh. And I have been taking longer and longer breaks from social media and watching stuff on TV.
Well,
that has nothing
that's
to do with
actually
anything, doing that and doing authentic rest,
Yeah.
so that I can come back in January and maybe help help all the Oregon Democrats get reelected and all of that energy. But like for the rest of this month, even when I'm on with, hosting for John next week, I'm going to be talking about things that are going to put goodness into the world. Like,
there is a
that's
just so
another part of our responsibility as humans.
There is a trend right now called posting zero that Gen Z is doing and embracing, which has a lot to do with social media fatigue and by the divide put into it. Also, a lot of younger kids who do talk are joining. They're either using WhatsApp or they're using another app or whatever, or texting to speak amongst their social group of actual friends.
Right.
That is a trend that is happening. And by the way, that is
I like
increasingly what's going to happen. Part of it also is that people are getting their chit chat high off of talking to ChatGPT or something similar, so they feel like they've already had the conversation. Like, if you're going to talk to a bot, at least you know it, right? As opposed to online where, you may not. Well, before we run out of time, I want to address a couple of things, and this might be the sort of the point of conversation. You brought up over the next little bit. You brought up one of them earlier, which is the Barry Weiss story with 60 Minutes about her killing a segment that they did, because and again, of course, using this idea that like we need more confirmation when there was not a problem with the clarity of the confirmation at all. None. She's very aware they had checked it 3 ways to Sunday, but she wanted the White House, this is abundantly clear, to get a second chance at shaping the narrative. She wanted them to be able to, because the spokesperson had told them to go pound sand, but she was like, I'll call them and then help them shape their message for you. And if you want an example of how she works, watch some of that Erica Kirk thing that she did. She was more angry about the topic than Erica Kirk was. Like, it was bizarre. I have never seen a more leading, like, we're talking about like Springer level shit.
Yeah. And the fact that she's an American Jewish woman, people just assume that I love her. Oh, fuck no, I don't. And Barry follows me on Twitter, which is weird because I don't follow her and I never have. And so I tweet her all the time, like, why'd you do this? Why'd you do this? Why'd you do this? Why'd you do this? She's bringing back the talk and giving Erica Kirk the first slot on it. That's not the talk we should see on CBS, because that's fucking white supremacist propaganda. 100%. You don't need TPUSA talking points on CBS. They have their own place to do that. And I challenge her all, like, I tweeted her today. I'm like, why'd you kill the Seacott story? Why'd you do that? I have a friend, one of my oldest friends I went to Emerson College with, is an editor on 60 Minutes, and I'm really worried for him because he is one of the greatest human beings I've ever known. Kind, good, ethical, everything you want someone in journalism, an editor who works for 60 Minutes to be, and he's not allowed to do his job in the way that he's good at doing because of her.
For the record,
and she won't respond to me. So I'm like,
yeah, of course, who gives a shit? She's honestly, I would expect her to, because that's her gig right now is to own. She has an audience. She has an audience of one, which is Trump. Her Barry Weiss. The interesting thing about her is while she's doing all this claptrap to support the Trump administration and help them basically propagandize extrajudicial killings and extrajudicial removals from the United States, that even the right doesn't trust her. That Erica Kirk gathering that she had is one of the primary pieces of evidence in the schism in the Civil War that blew up at TPUSA this week. One of the reasons why they do need to get on CBS is because they're losing their own audience. That's for all this bullshit we kept hearing about, the mainstream media is gone and nobody watches legacy shit anymore. They all watch podcasts and that kind of stuff. And so TPUSA with the Charlie Kirk show and all the ancillary stuff, or the Daily Wire or Joe Rogan or whatever, we don't need the mainstream media. Well, fuck yeah, you do, because none of them have any editorial weight, any anchor that makes anybody feel good about what they're getting. They think it's just people shooting the shit, which is what a podcast is. It's just people shooting the shit. And when a real journalism happens, it requires work. Even the way she did this was to use journalism's rules against them, to say we need to double check and triple check it. She didn't say we can say whatever the fuck we want, which is what Trump ultimately wants her to do. She just used it because the rules still exist. The reporters won't do this. The journalists won't go, no, I'm not going to rewrite my fucking story to lie for you. So she can only shut things down in the same way that Pam Bondi shuts down Epstein stuff. We can't, if we show everything like we said, everybody will see everything. So we have to pretend, we have to use the rule of law to hold the stuff back, which is that we have an ongoing investigation. That means that the system itself is holding, so much so, including legacy media, that the people on the right are having to use those tools because they are resilient. What greater example is fucking Kash Patel's bullshit about he's gonna, turn the FBI headquarters into a museum for the deep state, a memorial to the deep state and all this kind of stuff. And now he's like, won't leave an airplane unless they give him an FBI raid jacket. It's like he's the biggest fucking poser in the world. So I want to bring that to our second little piece, which is this, which is my favorite little nugget that's happening right now. And I don't know how aware you are of this. Former FBI agent Kyle Seraphin implies that Kash Patel might be a closeted homosexual because he lives with GOP mega donor Michael Muldoon. There's rumors passing around the FBI that have kind of intimated, I think is what he meant, that this may be more than just two men living together. And that no shit, right? And that leather boy picture that Kash Patel put out himself.
Yes, I tweet that all the time. It's just like, come on, glory hole. You tweet a picture of yourself photoshopped on a giant leather-bound moose knuckle.
Right.
No straight man does that. Sorry, that's not a cis move.
Yeah, and it's amazing to me that he put it out, everybody's like, that was that's photoshopped. It doesn't matter. He put it out.
By him.
It matters. He released it, right? He's the one that furthered it. He retweeted it or whatever the fuck he did at the time, or copied it and pasted it. But the point is,
he tweeted it saying there is sticking the boot up the deep state's ass.
Okay, so where did this come from? Where did this come from? They don't have a problem with certain, closeted gay men in their organization, whether it's, like Hawley, whether it's, Lindsay.
Marco Rubio.
Right. As long as they're towing the barge, they don't care, right? As long as they're doing the job.
Is openly gay and
on our side, the opposite is true. Gay or straight, we just want you following along. We don't care about that part. We care about what you're doing.
Right. Always.
Right.
It is. Well, that's what they do, is that they attack the messengers. They attack the character of the person who is telling the truth.
Yeah.
They're always attacking the messengers, and that's why it's Joe Biden sniffed his kids' heads. What? That's what? Or they make fun of my hair, or they make fun of the way we look, or they make fun of where we live. It doesn't matter. Nope. It doesn't matter where I live. Kash Patel is a closeted glory hole who belongs in prison because he's a fucking traitor. He and Bongino both belong in prison because they ordered people at the FBI to black out anything about Trump in the Epstein files.
Which is a violation of the law that was passed. The Epstein Transparency Act is and by the way, also,
who arrests them though?
Well, there is no statute of limitations on this in the law. which means anytime there is a Democrat in the White House or Democrats control the House or the Senate or both, that can happen. You violated the law, and there is no, like, because the whole idea is the law is not met until the files are released. So whenever the last day you didn't release them, which is yesterday, and then tomorrow it'll be yesterday, and tomorrow it'll be 10 minutes ago, every second you don't release them, you are violating the law anew. So that right. So that's the part that I think that, they're like, Trump's going to run out of the clock because his brain's turning to tapioca and he's gone. But everybody else, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and to some degree Bongholio, who might eventually effectively like cover his ass maybe till the end of the presidency and then turn state's evidence because he knows, because he's seen the shit. And the question is, like, everybody's like, he wants to go back to his fucking podcast. Well, if he does, and he doesn't go, I saw shit in the Epstein files that blah, 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 that they won't release, then nobody's going to listen to him. Nobody, I mean, we never do, but nobody on the right is, because they already feel with his stupid, he hung himself. It's obvious. You could see it plain as day, which is just gnarly horseshit. They know he was full of shit on that, and the only way he could make up for it will require him to talk about how Trump is in there and Trump's buddies specifically. Correct. So, anyways, this whole like Kash Patel is gay like thing, and again, that's the interesting thing about that.
And
is
the girlfriend, by the way, the girlfriend that needed
as an Israeli honeypot story, right?
Bullshit. Wag that dog harder, Glory Hole. That's not.
So,
it's not going to work. Who believes that? No, it's so stupid. The Trump show is winding down. It's had a 10-year run. I don't care to see the repeats or we don't need to see it again, and we definitely don't need a reboot ever again after the fuck show and this entire cast of miscreants who were just dug up from the bottom of the bottomest barrel to be yes people for Trump. Not a single one of them qualified, not one of them with the experience to run any kind of anything except
but that was
maybe
the point.
A segment on Fox
That's
News.
the point.
I understand. And that was the point. And that is what would have happened in 2020 if they had
if they know how shit works and you tell them to break the law or do something wrong, they're slower to realize, unless somebody in the IG office or something tells them, you can't do that. That's illegal. I know he asked you to do it, but you can't do it. If you know that, if you're Jim Comey or even if you're Chris Wray, if they ask something that's illegal, you're going to know because you've been a rank and file FBI. You've had that drilled into you over the years. You know what the law is. And you know what post J. Edgar Hoover FBI is. And Kash Patel and Bongholio were specifically hired because they're fucking stupid. Because they don't know immediately that they're being asked to break the law. And by the time they find out, they're complicit in it, and therefore they will go along with it because, holy shit, I broke the law, and now I've just got to go with it and hope I can get out of it. The president will pardon me or fix me. But if I turn on him one day, I'm not going to get a pardon. And that's what this becomes about. So Patel, this is.
Well,
I wanted to show this real quick, too.
Okay.
This is
show that, but then there's an important point to make that makes all of this possible. So
So this is about the guy that Michael Muldoon that Kash lives with in Las Vegas. The head of the FBI lives with an older man. That's his home in Vegas he's talking about. How weird. Why does the head of the FBI have a roommate? Live? She lives in Nashville.
Why isn't his primary residence a bachelor pad in DC?
Right. Yeah. Like, what do you mean I'm going home? Also, you can't afford an apartment? Yes, he lives in Vegas, allegedly. And again, he lives in Vegas with Michael Muldoon, the GOP mega donor.
You should try to find out where they hang out and just show up there and be like, what's up, Cash?
I don't think they have a Blue Oyster here. And if they do, I wouldn't know the address. But
Just check
Yeah,
I mean, if you could get the grinder records and get the metadata from Cassius
sure.
Grinder
Well, it's going to be
account.
hard since it crashed during TPUSA again.
It always does. Weird, right? And you know what? You know what? That brings me to the point I would like to make, and maybe this can be the
Yeah.
closing point. There are paid MAGA influencers who call themselves journalists. They are not. Call themselves journalists who fly around the country spreading this bullshit. The same people who were sent to Portland to create fake violent stuff. Those are the same ones who go to Phoenix for TPUSA and crash Grinder. People like Tim Pool, people like Benny Johnson, people like Nick Sorter, people, those people. And nobody is talking about these paid MAGA influencers who are calling themselves journalists, who are lying and pushing all of this propaganda that you're putting up on all of the smoke screeny. Don't look at that. Look at this. And Bill Clinton. But if Bill Clinton hung out with Jeffrey Epstein, then it's okay that Trump did too. Like nobody is really exposing who these people are. And I've tried, but currently I'm not employed and no one's paying me to tell the truth anywhere. So I would love it if anybody who does tell the truth and people listen to, would start talking about that too, because that's a big part of how we are still in this, Project 2025 MAGA bullshit world is because
we're here because we voted. No, we're here because as a public we voted for it, and like everybody who stood. No, wait. Everybody who stood down and during the election or voted the other way or flipped their votes or whatever, even legit. I don't mean any shenanigans that might have gone on. Anybody who didn't recognize that this shit was going to happen. It's so ironic because like Nick Fuentes, fucking Tim Pool, even to some degree, even Glenn Beck are complaining that what Trump is doing, that's not what we wanted. That's not what we voted for. And last year, we were all going, that's exactly what they're going to do. It's in Project 2025. He said it specifically. Of course they're going to fucking do this. So there's no surprise. There is none. And in this particular, and so anybody who says there is, and this is again, we have one job: red, purple, blue. That's it. And one of the things I want to show you real quick is on our way out the door is sort of that even Steven aspect of dealing with this or whatever is the Stacey Plaskett part. Because this, I don't know if this is part of the news you've been following or whatever.
Yeah, this I thought was weird, and I pointed it out at the time. I'm like, why were you texting?
Okay, so
because
one
Epstein
of the reasons
Island is off of Puerto Rico, and she was aware of the fuckery.
No, his private island is covered under the Virgin Islands.
Okay. That's right, Virgin Islands, not Puerto Rico.
Yeah, she's technically, his island is there, and he's one of the big. He was at the time, even still, one of the big rich landowners in her district. And which is fucked up. Also, when she was part of I want to say the economic development, the EDE or the EDI or whatever it was in the Virgin Islands that she was on before she ran for office, she okayed I want to say $185 million in tax breaks for him and his island and his St. Thomas thing or whatever. And by the way, Trump as well.
I don't like that.
Nope. So Trump specifically, Trump says he's never been to the island. Well, but Trump has a property in St. Thomas. There is no record of Trump flying to St. Thomas to his own property. The only one that he has that he's never gone to makes no fucking sense, which means every time he went, they scrubbed it. What was the trick with Epstein Island? Was that if you flew there, most people did not fly straight to Epstein Island. They didn't land there. They flew to St. Thomas and they took a boat or a helicopter.
Right, one of those puddle jumpers.
And one of the things they very well probably did, and this will come out eventually, fuck these people, is that they stayed at Trump's property officially, but went over to the island unofficially. So they would, like, all those people who were going to these weird gatherings at Epstein Island were guests at Trump's St. Thomas resort. And St. Thomas is the only property that I know of that he has that apparently he's never flown to, which makes no fucking sense. By the way, weird. I don't know that there's a record of anybody in his family flying there, specifically, which again looks scrubbed specifically.
Yeah.
So anyway, so Stacey Plaskett, part of a panel of people, obviously, but signed off on this big tax break for Jeffrey Epstein. And one of the stories was that she was texting with him during the hearings with Michael Cohen.
Right.
And this is when Michael Cohen was being adversarial, and it was.
He was feeding her information, like ask him about this, ask him about that, and then she immediately asked him about it. Yeah,
yeah, and on the one hand, like the ties are hinky, and the fact that she was texting specifically him is one thing, but at that point, Epstein was either in the process of trying to help burn Trump down because Trump had dry snitched on him in 2005 or 2004, around then. Because over that real estate deal, and that's what eventually got him arrested. But then he got the deal from because Trump literally said they're going to raid your house. I heard it from a friend when he was the fucker who called it in. Clearly, she was like this. She may have been very smart to ask him, who was willing to roll up the chain to. I don't care how big Jeffrey Epstein is. The president of the United States is bigger. So I get that if that's your goal, it makes sense. But still, very fucked up. And one of the things is she could have, the weird part to me, and the part that stood out to me in this, is that she could have gone, I'm currently texting with one of my constituents who happens to be a former best friend of Donald Trump, right?
She sure could have.
She could have said, and he's gone to jail himself for some rather untoward things. I'll mention it in just a moment. But he has very intimate knowledge of him, and very well perhaps may end up at some point being a witness, maybe trying to buy himself some time out of jail or something in the future. That's a very strong possibility that he might be trying to even reach out to me with this information, and I will share it with you. She could have said that overtly.
Sure.
And it would have blown the whole fucking thing wide open. It literally, if Stacey Plaskett at that moment when Michael Cohen was being adversarial, if she would have gone, I'm talking to a really good friend of his, and you know him very well, don't you, Michael Cohen? And his name is Jeffrey Epstein. And he's asking me. That would have
been amazing.
It would have been huge. So that's why I think it's hinky and fucked up.
Yes, and it would have helped immensely for the Biden
campaign. It would have obliterated Trump at that point. And interestingly enough, Epstein might still be alive. He might have been put in protective custody. He might have had some sort of there would have been more eyes on where he was and that kind of stuff and who handled his case and that kind of stuff. So he could have actually gone to fucking jail and rotted and became an old man with nobody to fuck for the rest of his life. And him and his fucking pear-shaped dick being, having to shower with other men forever. Right?
Gross.
I'm saying.
I know what you're saying, and I don't disagree with you. So,
she could have done beyond what she shouldn't have done.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda. There's so many woulda, coulda, shouldas with the Democrats over the last year that we need a whole other hour to get into the woulda, coulda, shoulda, starting with the election and everything else. So, but we can't do that because we're already over. So instead, I'll just say, thank you, Sparklers. It's nice to be back with you. If you are so inclined, I would appreciate it if you would sign up for my Substack. Because that's the only source of income I have at the moment. So that my Substack, and I've also changed the link. Tammy, great sparkler, helped me with TaraDublinRocks.com, and it used to go to Amazon, but now it goes to Powell's, the independent bookstore that everybody should. Yeah. So because, I started it, I had her do it before the economic blackout started, and I don't see a reason to change it back. I mean, I definitely get more royalties from Amazon, but I also understand that people don't want to buy from Amazon. And so when you buy from an independent bookstore like Powell's and you're supporting an independent writer, that's a good thing you can do. during the
Okay,
holiday
but
season of giving.
yeah, again, here's what I will also say. Any place that's selling books is good. Like, just buy
Yes,
books, period.
please buy
Physical
books.
books. However they end up
Specifically
in your
mine.
hands, yes, right. But however they end up in your
And
hands, there is such a gradation of things we have to deal with and things that don't fucking matter and are gripes, that
right.
things are so serious that honestly everything when you got a passive eugenicist running Twitter, Bezos just being a
Not
rich
that passive.
dick is immaterial comparatively.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not gonna matter. It doesn't matter right now. It's a standard kind of rich guy getting a tax break, but compared to Palantir, like literally we need to pick our battles, really.
Right.
And in this
I know.
particular instance, any place you can get a paper book or with pages and an actual cover is, yes, beats the alternative, right? I'm glad books are still being sold. Let's just put it that
And
way.
a blurb from Cameron Crowe right
Nice.
there. That's a blurb from Cameron Crowe is what that is. So, and Ellen Barkin wants to play the rock star's mom in the eventual streaming series. And who wants
like
to
it.
disappoint Ellen Barkin? I don't want to disappoint Ellen Barkin.
Not me.
And neither do you.
No,
Neither
of
do
course
you.
not, because I am Buckaroo Banzai, and that would be a bad move on my part.
And there would be Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah.
There would be also a part in The Sound of Settling and its sequel, or one somewhere. There will be room for Hal Sparks.
Yeah.
In this universe,
There's
absolutely room for you.
One of my favorite lines ever in cinema comes from Buckaroo Banzai. When Ellen Barkin is in the audience and she's crying, and it stopped they stopped the show because of it, and they're booing her. And he goes, no, don't be mean. Remember, wherever you go, there you are.
There you are. Absolutely.
And
here we are. And I'm
love
grateful
that
to be
that
here
line
with you.
It gets quoted all the time, but they leave off the first part, which is "Don't be mean."
Don't be mean.
So, anyways, much love. Thank you for being with me today on the show.
I love you guys. Take care of each other. I'll see you next Monday. Okay.
Okay.
Well, are you gonna
excellent.
Are we gonna be here next Monday? Are we gonna do this next Monday? All right, then I'll see you next Monday.
All right.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye. There she goes, ladies and gentlemen. Excellent.